can't believe I'm just gonna share this. Slay Queen Slay. Hey my lovely YouTubers, welcome back to my YouTube channel with me, your girl Morgan Tracy J. Today I'm coming with a new video, all a quick get ready with me. I'm actually here at the office and I'm actually shooting content today. So I thought, why not just record me getting ready, but also to tell you guys about a story where I really thought a particular guy was my husband, and so I waited for a long time. So literally I want to share this with you guys to hopefully help somebody else out. Sometimes us Christian ladies can get really spiritual and all that good stuff. So anyways, I'm not even going to get on into it right now. I'm going to start getting myself together, but I want to share with you just how sometimes we can really be delulu out here, okay? Delulu is delusional, if you have not seen that all over social media. But we can be very delulu out here. And so I want to share with you a time when I was extremely delulu and it just did not work out. I can't believe I'm just going to share this, but anyways, it's about that time. So if you're new here, boo, go ahead and subscribe to the YouTube family. I share video content on faith, fashion, and fearlessness. I drop videos every week, and so I know it's going to bless you, okay? So let's talk about the time that I really was so sure that this particular person was my husband, and I waited a very long time for this individual. Okay, let's talk about it. So y'all, this video is not sponsored by anybody. However, I do have a link to some Merit products. You guys know I've used Merit a lot. I'm just going to be using them like I normally do. But this video is not sponsored at all. It's just, if you do like some of the Merit products, I actually have a link for Merit from a previous collab I did with them. But anyways, I'm going to use this Morphe Prep and Set Mist. And so you guys know I am trying my best lately to really limit the amount of makeup I use on a daily. Okay, you guys, so let's talk about the time that I could have sworn that this one particular guy was my husband, okay? So I say this because this is not fully delusional, because I actually dated this individual for years, okay? Now this right here was years and years and years ago, guys. So don't think this is any time recent. I mean, this is over like 8+ years ago. All right, but I want to share with you how there was a guy I was dating, and when I was dating him, I just knew this was my husband. I knew this was my individual. I knew this was the person that I was going to be with, and I just knew it. And how I say I knew it is like I felt it. I felt this love that I had never felt. I felt secure. I felt safe. Now, granted, I was young. I was very, very young. Also, I was very kind of toxic in my own way, and I hadn't went through a lot of healing yet. But even in myself, I really believed like this individual was my husband. And so then the relationship ends. Okay. So after about 2 years of dating, the relationship ends, and I am pretty hurt by this. But I'm still so stuck, like, I knew this person was my husband, so why did the relationship end? So what I told myself is once the relationship ended, for 1 whole year, I wasn't going to entertain anybody else. And I was just going to believe in faith and just trust the Lord that this was my husband, okay? All right, all I'm doing is filling in my eyebrows right now. But that's all I did. So for 1 year, I worked on myself. I continued to focus on the things God gave me. But in my heart, I just knew this is my husband. And when this year is within this 1 year, I know we're going to reconnect, we're going to rekindle, and everything's going to be fine, right? That's what I told myself. So 1 year comes and goes, and there's still no rekindling. There's nothing. Now, at this time, we've had small conversations here and there, but like, we want to be back together. Like, this individual's like, hey, I want to be with you. Because this individual's the one who broke up with me. And so like that person just never was giving that energy. Like, I want to be with you. It was more like, how you doing? You're good. Okay. And then you would not really hear from them again. And so should have been a sign for me. But after 1 year of waiting, but I was still working on myself, so I wasn't just sitting there twiddling my fingers. It was like in the back of my mind, I knew like I'm not going to entertain anybody because I'm truly believing that this one is my person. However, I'm going to continue to work on myself, go through college, whatever. So that's what happens. So 1 year goes by, and when the 1 year happened, I was actually very kind of hurt because I had all this faith where I just knew by 1 year we were going to be back together. And also, you guys, I'm not even using foundation. I am using a medium coverage skin tint, and it's by the It Cosmetics, and it has SPF in it, 40 and all that, so that's kind of good for me. But I've just put it on my hands, and I will say I went to Ulta with my mother not too long ago, and I got myself like perfectly matched with the shade. And it's not a foundation, but it is a skin tint. So it's really light, and that's what I wanted. I wanted something that made me just super natural looking. And that's something about my makeup. I like to do very, very natural. But anyways, back to the story. 1 year goes by, okay? 1 year goes by. We're not together. And by this time, I am pretty hurt. I'm like, wow, God, like, I just knew we were going to get back together. I just knew things were going to work itself out. So when the 1 year goes by, I'm like, well, right then. It's not like no men have not been interested. Like, I'm in college at the time. There were a few men interested. So I was, in a way, I was hurt. That I was let down. And so I was like, well, I'm going to start dating. Because, like, I already waited 1 whole year. I'm not going to wait anymore. So I prematurely start going on dates. And I don't get in full relationships. But I just start going on dates. Things like that. And pretty much I really realized I was not over the individual who I had been waiting on. Like, I'm not over him. And so those dates didn't last long. And before I knew it, the next 5 years as I was working on my ministry and building my ministry, I did not date. So for 5 years, I didn't date. I didn't date. I didn't go out with anybody. Actually, at that time, I ended up kind of failing out of college. I moved back home. And so, and living in a small town, I knew I didn't want to date anybody here because I already knew, like, God was going to call me to move eventually. So I remember I was like, I'm not going to date anyone in this location. Like, so for 5 straight years, I did not date anybody. And I was still kind of being Delulu because in my heart, I was still waiting on this individual. So I was believing that, you know what, it's just taking more time than I thought it was going to take a year, but I'm going to keep waiting on him because I know this person is my husband, right? And the crazy thing about this is like, I was so gung-ho that this individual was my husband that I would have dreams about this individual. I would have all kinds of memories about this individual. Like, so it wasn't like I was always just trying to be stuck on him. It was like I would have all these reaffirming dreams, so to speak, right? And so pretty much 5 years go by. I hear from him off and on sometimes, but never in a way like, I'm interested, I want to take you out, I want to go out with you, and then also too, I never let him know I wanted to go back out with him because I truly believed in the previous part of our relationship, I know I was a big of a leader. I was really big on, this is what I want and this is what we're going to do. And so I knew coming into it, to have the dynamics right, I had to let that man lead. So, I mean, now it's 5 years, okay, of being single, plus the 1 year I waited on him. And it was around year 5. And the truth is, I would have still kept going on this Delulu journey. Only thing that happened is I went on a ministry trip. I was ministering at a particular church in the Bronx. And I met somebody through ministry. And we connected. I went back a few times for another ministry thing. And we just hit it off, honestly. And so and I remember sitting there struggling because I'm hitting it off with this individual. But in the back of my mind, it's like, but I've been waiting on this one for like 5 years plus now. And it's like, why is this not work? Like, do I go forward with this individual? Do I entertain this individual? Do I just stay single another year and see what happens with the other individual? And truly, I just had to get to that place of, Morgan, if that man wants you, the one you're waiting on, he will let it be known. Like, I had to get to that. But also to the guy that I was hitting it off with at the time, it was just too natural. It was so freeing. It was something I hadn't felt in a long time. And so I was truly like, oh wait, like I'm really, like I was so confused. I was like, how do I feel like I'm waiting on this guy, but I am here fully engaged and just being fully connected to this new person in my life right now. And it's crazy, right? So that's what I was thinking, like, this is wild. I'm going to contour a little bit with this merit stick. Okay. But I'm like, this is wild because I'm so used to waiting. I would have waited another year. But long story short, guys, I ended up getting in a whole nother relationship. So I'm in this relationship with this guy for a year, around a year. And we kind of break up after about year 1.5, let me say. About year 1.5, we break up. And as soon as we broke up, I thought, oh, this is that sign because that other guy is the man for me. So every time I would get in these little situationships, relationships, and it wouldn't work out, I would go right back to believing that that one was that person. And what happened was I realized some of these was not working out because still deep down, I was still believing that that person was my person. See, I tell you, Delulu, okay? So let me tell you how I finally got the revelation to let it go. Oh, y'all, this was good. So I was eating dinner with my aunt one time. My aunt came into town and me and her sitting down at Texas Roadhouse and we're eating. And we were just having a real open, honest conversation. And I'm talking to my aunt and I'm telling her how I don't tell nobody this. Like my sister doesn't know this. My mama don't know. No one knows this. But I tell my aunt, there's a man I've been waiting on for years. And now technically it might be like year 7. And even though I dated for a little bit, but truly in my heart, I think I'm still kind of waiting on him. And I'm like, and my life is improving and my life is going on forward. My heart is still with him. Like, and I'm telling her this and I'm kind of starting to cry about it because it's like, I don't know how to let this go. Like, why does this still have a hold on me? And I don't know if I should just keep believing that this is that person. And she kind of began to talk to me about some books she read growing up, like these love story novels, like, oh, they got back together and, you know, like the Cinderella type of story vibes, like really fairy tale-ish. She started telling me how there was a time where she was really into like fairy tale vibes, you know, and that's what she was kind of getting from me. Like I had this fairy tale in my mind that, oh, we're going to come back together and it's going to be so rekindled and it's going to be so perfect and all of this. And she just kind of let me know that day in Texas Roadhouse, after about 6.5 years of waiting, it was kind of the wake up call I needed. It was like, hey, don't waste your life waiting on somebody. Don't do that to yourself. Because one day you can look up and what if he's married? What if you see him get married? And then you're like, oh, well, what you been waiting on for, right? Or are you still going to wait and be in such a delusion and say, oh, that's not going to work out, right? Like it could be all kinds of things, okay? So she kind of started breaking this down to me and she just got really real with me and was like, you do not need to wait anymore. You need to go on with your life. You need to leave him where he is. Even though he has not truly pursued you. He has truly not came at you. Not me using I like to use a little concealer for the top of my eye. Especially because mascara and all that gets dark up there. But she just really, I will say, she cut it to me very straight. And I guess finally I was at a place in my life I could receive it. Because years and years prior, when, the first year went by, I was like, okay, he's not the one. But then I'd quickly convince myself again he is. Second year goes by, oh, he's not the one. Quickly convince myself he is. Right? Like I kept convincing myself. And so she kind of just came at the right time in a way. Because what she was just like, there is no need to wait. There's no need to wait. What are you waiting on? If you are, like, she spoke into me. You're like, gorgeous, you're beautiful. Any man would want to be with you. Don't you dare sit here waiting on this one. Don't you dare sit here waiting and waiting year after year and year after year and year after year. If this man is that man for you, he would have realized it by now. He wouldn't need 5 to 7 years to finally realize when he already dated you for 2. He wouldn't need that long. And sadly, if he is that type of man that needs that long, he's just going to have to learn the hard way that, you know what, people, you have to step up. If there's something you want, you got to step up into it. And so she kind of was just like pouring into me. And I remember being like, the hardest part wasn't just saying, okay, like, let it go, Morgan. It was that I was so convinced for years that this was my person. Like, this was my guy. So the hardest part was letting that idea of what I created go. I created this big fairy tale idea that we were going to come back together. I was going to see him here. You don't know when, but you're going to run into him one day and it's going to just rekindle. And I had this big fairy tale going on in my head. And truly, and this is what I will say, there was at least one man for sure in those years when I truly had this ex in my heart that I dated, that truly could have been a husband. But my mindset was not there. My heart set was not there. my level of forgiveness was not there, like just to, you know, work through a relationship, because deep down I still was in my delulu. I was still settled that this one is the one. So even though I'm here with you, my back of my mind is like, but is this him? Because I thought the other one was him. Like, I was so confused, right? Who is the author of confusion? Okay, but anyways, I was very confused. However, I will say, in a way though, me being through those years of delusion low-key helped me build my ministry and just really focus on not dating. Because I was like, you know what, I did believe this particular one is my husband, so I'm not going to date, I'm not going to entertain. And I just honed in on the ministry, so that was a blessing. But I will say, once I had that little conversation with my aunt, I remember leaving that. I remember being at the Texas Roadhouse table. Me and her are crying because I'm crying over letting this thing go that ain't even a thing and hadn't been a thing for years on years. Almost a decade pretty much. And it hadn't been a thing, but I'm still sitting there holding on to that in a way. She obviously really spoke into me, blessed me at that moment. And I remember driving back to my apartment, and I said, I'm done. I literally said it. I'm done. I'm letting that go. I'm letting him go. And I will tell you, ain't this like something? I let him go. Other people started to come in my life. I met somebody else over time. And lo and behold, I started to feel the ex that I was believing for all those years. I see him start kind of showing up a little bit. Like showing up in the DMs, showing up on like whatever. And I realized I was really done when it didn't even matter no more. Because the old Morgan would have got those messages from him like, oh my gosh, he's messaging me. Let's chit chat. Like, this is the chance. This is the moment. And now I was at a place where I was like, am I even going to respond? Like, I was no longer there. And I realized I had been waiting for years for God to cut that tie with that man out of me. Like, God, cut this tie off of me. Cut this connection, like, or this feeling I have for him, and all these dreams I have of him and me. Like, cut this off. And really, it was me who had to cut it off. Like, I had to come to the place and the realization, Morgan, quit being delusional. Not saying this man doesn't, there's something about you that he does want. Let's be real. You might be the girl that, you know, his family would have loved him to settle down with. Or you might be the girl he would have loved to settle down with when he got himself more together. Whatever. But are you choosing to wait that long for that? Are you choosing to be that one that, like, oh, the girl that, like, I know I should have got with, but I just wanted to go live my life a little bit and do this and that? Like, who are you gonna be? And so I kind of quickly realized over time, thanks to that conversation with my aunt, I accepted that, you know what, Lord, I don't know who you have for me, but I'm not gonna wait for the one that I have maybe convinced myself that was for me. And that's what I did. I let go. And I even said, you know what, Lord, it don't even matter. It don't matter. If this person was the one you had for me in a previous season, but now they're not, okay. Like, I literally had to get to this, like, place of just let go. And so I'm sharing this with you guys because this is honestly the only person I truly had ever shared this with up to the point was my aunt. Now I share it with my sister, and I've talked about it way more. But it took me a while, you guys, to let that go. I'm talking about years. So sis, if you are there and you're like, hey, God told me this man is my husband. And I'm going to tell you, at 21, I knew God told me that man was my husband. I knew it at 21. And all these years go by, and years go by, and years go by. And it was just like, you know what, Morgan? Maybe God told you, but maybe when God told him, he didn't want to listen. Or maybe he said, no, that ain't my, everyone has free will, right? So I will say, it took me a while to truly let that go. I think I want to say at like, okay, I'm trying to go back to get the ages right. I think at like 19. No, 20 or 21. I think 20. Because I met him when I was a freshman in college, and we dated through college and everything. So yeah, it was a good minute, okay? I have known, and I held on to that. And in a way, I truly believe my relationships were not working and did not work for years because my heart was still holding on to this man. So even though I was going forward in my life and doing great things, my heart was still looking at this particular man like, is it this one, right? And so I share this with you guys because my aunt she was like a saving grace at that time, because I was still, I mean, this was 7.5 years later, I'm still holding on at the time. And my aunt is just like, baby, no, you gotta let that go. And I don't know why that day, that hour, I was finally at the place to let go of the story I had been telling myself, that we're gonna get back together. Oh, like we're only apart right now because, you know, that's just how God has it for us right now. Oh, he hasn't pursued me, but he's probably went on and pursued other girls right now. But God is gonna bring us back together, whatever. That was the story I was telling myself, and that could truly have been a part of the story. But you know, one thing with the word of the Lord, it will reveal itself. It will show up. When God speaks something, it will come to pass. But also too, we have free will. And I quickly realized that I was maybe confused by now. By now, I was pretty confused. And I struggled with that. I'm not gonna lie. I even struggled with letting go. I struggled when I started to get, you know, messages from him and stuff like, oh, like I knew I was over it and past it though when I no longer wanted it. I didn't want it anymore. Like I had wanted this for years on years on years. I waited for years on years on years, and now I'm over here like what y'all want me to do? Oh, I don't really want it no more. Like it was such a breath of fresh air. And I share this with you guys because sometimes we are so big on like, God, tell me about my husband. Okay? We are so big on like, God, tell me about my husband, but we're not even asking God, like, tell me about my future right in this, where I'm at right now, my future in the purpose, my future in my devotion. Show me where I'm going as an individual. You know what I mean? And I realized I was so gung-ho back in my younger years on my husband that I wasn't really seeking Lord on purpose and stuff. So when I kind of got my mind settled, like, oh, that is my husband, I got to put my energy towards my purpose. So that's why I say it was really actually a blessing that I was so focused on just, oh, this individual is my husband, and whenever it comes around, it comes around. And it's like I had just this free flow with it. Like, oh, when it comes around, it's going to come around. I know it will, so whatever. But inwardly, I was still working on my ministry. I was still growing. But externally, when men were coming around me, I was struggling with giving my all to them. I was struggling with being a good, honest, fully and devoted woman with them, because I still had this thing playing in the back of my mind that I'm going to end up with this particular individual, right? And so I want to share that with you, girl. If you are somebody where you have went on and gotten relationships, but there's this one ex you have not been able to let go of, and you might be like, gosh, God, I need you to make me let go of him. I need you to give me the strength to not have this connection. And I will tell you, just ask God for more truth about it. Because sometimes the story we have created is what the problem is. It's the story we created. Like the story I was creating was we were going to come back together and all of this. And it's like, okay, but that's the story you created. That not be the true story, sis. That's just the story you created. And so that's what I want to tell you. There was a story I had created that we were going to come back together and we were going to be all of these things. And that's why I said I want to share this with you, because I went through years of waiting for a man. And I know I'm not the only one. Or we go through years of waiting for people. And I went through years of waiting for this particular man. And you guys, it was pointless. I didn't have to wait for him. The man that would be for me, I wouldn't have to wait for him. I wouldn't have to try to be everything for him. I wouldn't have to try to convince him. He wouldn't have to fully leave me for years on years on years, then come back and say, oh, you are the one. No, you should know that. You should know in your spirit. You should know about who I am. So I realized that was really a line to my lack of worth. My worth felt like I wasn't good enough. So the truth of the waiting was, I would have never waited if I truly knew my worth. I would have never waited. Like, I would have been like, but he left me. But he left me. So since he left me, he ain't for me. That's what I would have said. If the Morgan today would have been like, Also, so he broke up with me. He didn't pursue me. He didn't try to, so he's not for me. And I would have went on with my life. But since my worth was so attached to this man, it was like he left me, but he's still my husband. But I'm gonna wait. But I'm still that one for him, right? So girl, if you have been Delulu, if you have been, I'm not coming for you, I am you. But I'm trying to tell you, and I'm trying to send this message to y'all with the get ready with me. Because girl, you can be going on forward with your life. You could be doing great exploits for the Lord, but still have this one thing that keep holding you up. You could see amazing people, but still have this one little thing like, man, should I move forward in a relationship with this person or not? Because this other person I do still want something with. You need to deal with that one thing. Like, I realized that I was going forward in relationships, and when I would be really ready to invest, I would get scared because I'd be like, but hold on, but what about that one guy? Girl, no. When people leave your life, we hear about TD Jakes. Let them go. Let them go. And now at this big age of 30 now, and probably about 27, I think I was like 27, 26 when my aunt had that conversation with me. Oh yeah, I can let them go now. I can let them walk when they leave my life. But it took me years to get to this place. So daughter, it don't need to take you 7 years of waiting on no man. I pray it don't take you 7 years, 8 years waiting on a man. I pray it don't take you as long as it took me. So hopefully you learn from this. Girl, take your time to heal. That first year when I waited on him, and that should have been the end of it. When I waited that 1 year, was single, worked on myself, started building my ministry, that should have been the end of it. But I kept it going because I kept holding on to this story that I was creating, and not fully the story that was obviously the truth right in front of me. The truth right in front of me is like, girl, he going on with his life. Oh, girl, he dating. Girl, he living it up. He obviously is not pressed for nothing. He obviously ain't over here worried about his future wife with you, if that was the case. He is living his life. So you need to go live yours, right? So I'm going to spray this setting spray real fast. Whew. I love how this smells. All right, so I spray that setting spray. I don't always use setting spray, but I'm going to need to use it today because I'm recording and I may be on camera for a little while today. And I'm going to use some of this edge control to kind of work with these little frizzy flyaways on the top of my head. I hate that when my hair is straightened out, you just see all these little... I need to get one of them sticks. But anyways, so yes, girl, I'm really praying that this bless somebody. And you know what? I kind of was nervous to create this because I was like, I don't want him to watch this and be like, hold on, you waited on me all that time? Like, or... you know, I just don't want him to see this. But I had to realize, like, Morgan, this is your truth. He may be like, well, girl, I was messaging you sometimes and stuff, or, you know, I was just checking on you. I wasn't trying to give you the wrong impression. But maybe in my storyline I was telling myself, maybe I was receiving the wrong impression every time he did message me back then. That was me like, oh, that's more confirmation, like we're gonna get back together and we're gonna rekindle, and this is that person for me. And now I'm obviously way past that, but I share this now because I'm on the other side of it and I can see it for fully what it was. I believed something that the Lord told me, and even though the outward was starting to give me all these different results year after year, I was not willing to budge because of what I truly wanted too. Like, this was something I really, really wanted. This was something that truly was a death to me. Like, just leaving the relationship, moving on, like even just letting the idea go that this is not that person, that was a death. That's why I was crying at Roadhouse, okay? Like, literally. But that was one of the best breakthrough moments I've had in a long time in my life when that happened, because that allowed me to go forward and actually start to enjoy dating. I literally, once I like fully got comfortable in Tulsa, I started going skating. I started living more. If y'all noticed that season, I wouldn't even be where I am right now if it wasn't for that, getting that revelation, like it's time to go forward with your life. Leave him where it's at. That was years and years ago. You cannot keep mourning the loss of that thing. You can't keep waiting on that thing. Like, it's time to get up, pick up your mat, wash your face, and go forward. Okay? So I'm going to do my hair real fast off camera so my camera doesn't die on me. I'm going to just flip my ends literally just like this. I'm gonna go flip all my ends and then I'll be right back. All right, you guys, this is the after. So from before to after, I really like just flipping out my hair. I cut it about a month or so ago because I really wanted to do this like classy, like flip at the ends or whatever. But anyways, this is my after. And I want to tell you, girl, I just wanted to come with some big sis advice. I've been there. I've been kind of delulu, and I've kind of waited on life, waited on an individual, and I've learned a lot about waiting. I've learned a lot about myself. But I will say this, many times it's after the fact, you're just like, wow, things could have been a little bit different. I could have made it a little easier on myself if I would have done things differently. So hopefully this video blessed you and encouraged you. And if you have a story where you were delulu, okay, let one of your sisters know about it in the comments below, because I know it could bless somebody. So bye, ladies. Thank you for joining me for this Get Ready With Me, and I will see you in my next one. Bye. Have a fearless Friday.